How do you define romance? Some see fields of flowers and starstruck lovers when the word is mentioned. Others fashion creative visions and leave the masses with their beautiful memories. What if these moments were captured in one place to share with all? Joining us is Hal Rubenstein to tell us more about his book, Looks of Love, 50 Moments in Fashion That Inspired Romance. Hal, welcome to Ultimate Report.
Hi, good to see you again.
It's great to have you here and share the book. Yep. So when you wrote this book, what was the ultimate intention?
I'm a very lucky person. I really am. I was raised in a household that was surrounded by love, that was propelled by love. My parents probably had the happiest marriage I've ever seen. And that outweighs having wealth. It basically overshoots everything. And it wasn't when I got older. I was lucky enough to realize at a very young age that I lived in a very unique household. Because when I got outside, I realized not everybody else had that blessing. But nevertheless, everybody wants to fall in love. Everybody wants romance. It's the most important emotion. It's the most important power on earth. So if it doesn't come necessarily from within your household, or that isn't the only source, where else does it come from? Where else do we get our images of love and romance and desire and sensuality and sex? Well, it comes from the culture around us. And I became fascinated by those elements in our culture that caused us great influence.
So before we move forward and look into the book further, how do you define romance?
See, the great thing about romance, let me start again. Define romance or define love?
Romance.
Romance is, honestly, we want it to happen the way it is in the movies. Let's get real, okay? Let's get real. We want it unreal, okay? We want fields of flowers. We want steamy, sweaty sex. We want trips to the Maldives. We want to be buried in flowers. We want to meet in a dark alley. There are so many different ways to define romance, but what we do is there has to be something out of the ordinary. There has to be something. Look, we have very programmed lives. We have programmed our lives these days within seconds. That's why everybody's busy on their phone making ridiculous notes to themselves. Romance is supposed to be something that takes you out of that lifts you up and says, you know something, later for that. None of that matters right now because this is going to happen. And if that does happen, frankly, everything else can't wait.
That's awesome. I really do like that. So how did you determine what looks to place in the book, and how did you determine them as noteworthy looks?
I mean, honestly, I don't mean to simplify it when people ask this question, but whether it's Singing in the Rain or Lucy being pregnant on TV or Woodstock or the Beatles coming to America, Romeo and Juliet, all of Elizabeth Taylor's marriages, all of these things were in my head. They weren't hard to find. These are your life really is the sum of your experiences. And these experiences are indelible in my growing up. It's the first time you saw Love Story, all the stories. What's so wonderful about the book for me is so much of it is firsthand response. The fact is that it wasn't like I'm telling a story of somebody else who went to a movie screening to see what's the name of the film? I'm drawing a blank. With Albert Finney and Audrey Hepburn, Two for the Road. And instead there was a screening that night of a new movie that just happened to be Bonnie and Clyde that shattered an entire audience of basically the most violent romance put on film up until that point. I was sitting in that audience. I did go to Woodstock. I was the man who introduced, who guided Gianni Versace around Miami the first time he was ever there. I'm very lucky. And also, I have a damn good memory. And these things are glued into my head. To see someone, this amazing man, this amazing talent like Versace, become entranced, fascinated, seduced by a city and its population, to look all around him and everywhere he saw was beauty and sex, you know, and passion and heat and color, and just to fall madly in love with the city in less than 24 hours. You don't forget that experience for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So out of all the 50 books that were placed into the book, what 5 have defined how we perceive fashion in relation to romance? What would be your top 5? I know that's going to be hard. I mean, that's like choosing between children.
Really hard. It really is. I mean, I think some of the ones that are very subtle and most powerful. Let's take Ralph Lauren's first advertorial. Okay?
Right.
Ralph, you say Ralph Lauren to anyone in America, and we all have a picture of how he feels, not how fashion is, but how life is supposed to be. What Ralph and Bruce Weber, the photographer, did, which was absolutely brilliant, was they took over 22 pages of particular magazines, 22 pages, consecutive pages, and said, the hell with the masthead of this magazine, the hell with the editors of this magazine. Guess what? We're buying 22 pages and we're going to show you what our world looks like. And because of the power of that, we all know how Ralph's perfect patrician paradise in America is supposed to look. And anyone who wants to feel like they're a success in this country basically has applied some of that to their life. So wow. I would say that's one. Another one that matters to me, okay, Flashdance. I hold the movie Flashdance responsible for the sloppiness of America. I blame everything on that one movie. Why? In 1983, this film came out. I mean, at the height of Dynasty success, which of course is also in the book, that the uber glamour of the 80s. And here came this girl, Alex, Jennifer Beal, the dancer. Okay, there's a whole androgyny thing going on in the film. If you remember, she wears work boots. She has the name Alex, which of course is incredibly androgynous. She works as a steel worker and a dancer at night. The boyfriend has curly hair. She has curly hair. He wears anoraks. She wears anoraks. He wears work boots. She wears work boots. That sweatshirt. She takes that. Remember, everybody remembers the one-shoulder sweatshirt? Now, here's the key with that sweatshirt. This movie happens at exactly the same time when in America, remember, nothing in our culture happens in a vacuum, which is one of the keys to understanding this book. This is happening at the exact same time as aerobics is becoming huge in this country. Jane Fonda's workout video came out the year before. The year before that, Olivia Newton-John's physical video. Remember that the turquoise and the fuchsia and the white leotard. Suddenly, thanks to these things, all of a sudden, exercise wear becomes fashion. It's fine to wear it out in the street. It's fine to wear your tracksuit. When you go, you're going to dance with water on you. You can wear leggings. All of a sudden, this movie is the reason why people get on airplanes in tracksuits and flip-flops.
Wow. You're right. You're absolutely right.
That's number 2. Number 3, Pillow Talk. Doris Day, America's sweetheart, America's #1 actress she was at 10 years. She was in the top 10. I think 7 of them is #1. Okay, and we think of, oh, she did those cute sex comedies with Rock Hudson. Pillow Talk is 1959, before Betty Friedan's feminine mystique, before the launch of Ms. Magazine, before Gloria Steinem did lectures around the country, before Marlo Thomas did That Girl. In 1959, here is a woman in film who has her own career as an interior designer, who is not 22 years old, who is living alone, liking it, has a great life, and basically her goal in the movie and goal in life is not to get married. She is a successful interior designer. Granted, she dresses unbelievably for an interior designer. That being said, it is the movies. And because of the structure of the what we call the sex comedy, which is odd because nobody in the movie is getting any, Rock Hudson's ruse, because he's a gigolo. They share a party line, if you remember. They share a phone party line, and so he always she's always cutting in on his calls, trying to seduce women. So when they finally meet, unbeknownst to each other through a meet cute, okay, he pretends that he's never had sex, that he's this sort of Texan who may in fact be gay. She becomes the sexual predator because she decides she's going to prove he's not gay because the love of this great woman. But what's key is that the clothes that she wears to work are so fabulous, are so sleek, that by Jean-Louis are so modern. This whole work wardrobe that she wears, you could wear it now and look amazing. You would look absolutely perfect. Another one, American Gigolo.
Mm-hmm.
American Gigolo. Here's a film, you know, about a man who's basically in love with himself. Okay, supposedly it has a happy ending. He winds, you know, he's a male escort, straight male escort, supposedly. Though there's one intimation in the movie of it not being necessarily always the case. But he only has one real love story in this movie, and that's him, and that's Richard Gere in his wardrobe. He opens up his closet, and he gets hard. Excuse me. He is in love with his wardrobe, and why not? Because his wardrobe is Armani from head to toe.
It's amazing.
What? Yes.
The wardrobe is amazing. It really is.
This film introduced Giorgio Armani to America. It introduced the ethos and the whole directive and the concept of this soft dressing. Oddly enough, the power suit became a softer suit. Menswear before this was all Brooks Brothers and Paul Stewart with stiff shoulders and suits that were fabrications that could practically stand on their own. It was about wearing a uniform to work. And here comes this Armani wardrobe with these grungy, pseudo-colorful color tones that are soft, and fabrics that are incredibly sensual, and jackets that have no construction. It changes the entire way men dress, and then he went ahead and just changed the entire way women dress, and then later on created the red carpet. Okay? This was the introduction to Armani in America. Armani redefined sportswear for both men and women, not only in America, but around the world. And if I have to pick one more, well, I'll give you two more. One, Woodstock.
Oh, right.
Because I was at Woodstock. Okay? The myth and the reality of Woodstock, what people don't remember, what people, you know, who are too young now, you know, Woodstock is base camp, is the tabula rasa, is the Rosetta Stone for everything that's boho, hippie, free love, peace, the age of Aquarius, all that stuff, you name it, whether it's fringes, whether it's tattoos, whether it's long hair, frizzy hair, the headbands, beards, facial hair, everything that is actually coming right back now. This is what we talked about, that all of this was at Woodstock. Well, guess what? It wasn't. What Woodstock was basically in 1969, we forget now, where if Taylor Swift does a concert, the concerts go on sale, and we all buy tickets from everywhere. We go on StubHub, we go on. Woodstock happened in northern New York. The only place to buy tickets to go to Woodstock were at record stores in New York City. The majority of kids who wound the 186,000 tickets that were sold for the original weekend of Woodstock were not only, first of all, they were also, I think they were $25 for the weekend, or $34 for the weekend, I can't remember the exact number now, which in the equivalent now is $150 when you realize that you could have seen the Beatles at Shea Stadium for $4.50. So this was expensive. It wasn't cheap, okay? Who went up there? A bunch of middle-class, mainly Jewish, white New Yorkers. And we all came with a suitcase full of clothes that were in the trunk of our car because we were going to change every day. We had outfits, okay? We got up there, and suddenly 250,000 other people came from around everywhere. While Joan Baez was singing, it started to rain. It came down. You couldn't move. You were stuck in mud. It wasn't that all of a sudden, basically, you decided you were going to be cool and free. You couldn't move. There was nowhere to go. You might, yes. Is it wonderful that there were no fights, that there were births, that they were passing around food, that they passed around drugs, that they passed around sex? Oh, yes, because you were confined. You couldn't go anywhere. It was wonderful, and the music was spectacular. But this was making the best of an extreme situation. It wasn't until you came home, all muddy, and I remember coming home, my mom and dad, I was caked in mud from like my knees down. All they want to know is I got home safe. But then you watch the news and you realize you were at the forefront of a stampede of for a generation. You just wanted to get out of there. You just wanted somebody to throw your car out of the mud. But suddenly you became a cultural pioneer. And now basically we attach to Woodstock anything that has to do with counterculture. And then the final one, I guess, is for me, personally, is Gene Kelly and Singing in the Rain.
Okay.
Number one, Gene Kelly, people always talk about, you know, who is the most important fashion icon, female icon in film, and it's always Audrey Hepburn. Well, who's the most important male icon? Well, it's not Cary Grant, it's not George Clooney, and it's not Gary Cooper, and it's not Clark Gable. It's actually Gene Kelly. And if you look at his wardrobes in films, and especially in films like Singing in the Rain, American in Paris, he defines American sportswear. The chino, the tennis sweater, the white shirt, the white socks, the bucks, the sneakers, all of it. It's all there. It's all there. But more important, what made Kelly so amazing was that this was a guy dancing. When Fred Astaire danced, you went, wow, how does he do that? When Gene Kelly danced, you went, oh my God, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And Singing in the Rain, that number is the personification of everybody's moment of realizing that they're in love. You wish, if you actually look at the dance, as somebody who used to dance for a living, it's actually it's an incredibly easy dance number. If you can tap, you could be taught it in probably a day. It's so simple, but it's the purest expression of joy. That splashing around, what you just, and you can't even tell when he stops walking and starts strutting, and when he stops strutting and starts dancing. It's completely organic, and they're just the sheer simple joy of realizing that somebody is changing your whole world.
That's amazing.
Like I said, we want to fall in love. We want to fall in love the way we do in the movies, and that's the way I want to fall. That's the way I want to be in love.
That's wonderful. So Hal, where can we get our own copy of Looks of Love, 50 Moments in Fashion That Inspired Romance?
It should be in your bookstores if there are any bookstores left in your town. If not, of course, it's on Amazon. And okay. It's on Amazon, and it's on barnesandnoble.com. It's on any of those places. If not, any bookstore can of course order it. Any private bookstore, if their first set of copies are sold out.
Wonderful. And where can we catch up with Hal Rubenstein online?
Oh my gosh, I am on, we're just launching halrubenstein.com. You can also find me on Facebook. We've just launched the sort of larger page. I am also writing for The New Potato. I am also online with you in the Ultimate Report for Gabriel and Company. Yay. And
Yay.
I am also blogging for Gabriel New York as well. And I am Special Projects Editor for Architectural Digest, so you can see me writing there. So I am not hard to find.
There you go. That's great. All right. Well, Hal, thanks so much for joining us. It's been absolutely lovely visiting with you as you go down memory lane to tell us, more about your book. This is amazing. This is an incredible book.
Thank you so much.
All right. Catch up with me on my blog, www.beautybeautereport.com, on Twitter @beautypublicist, and on YouTube, Ultimate Report. Everyone, thanks so much for joining us. Have a beautiful and successful week. Mwah.